everyone? My name is Defcamp, and welcome to DefTalk, the talk show that focuses on everything World of Warcraft, whether it's classic, retail, or the players that play it. Today we have with us my wonderful brother, Melderon. How you doing, Melderon?
Oh, that was heart-touching. Thank you. How are you guys?
Yes. And a very special guest, a friend of the channel, a very special friend of the channel. We have with us Eric, also known as Earlybird. How you doing, man?
Very well, guys. How are you doing today?
I'm doing great. Thanks for coming on the show.
Absolutely.
And so guys, if you don't know, we have our Patreon system. Eric has been very kind enough to be one of our patrons, and he's also been a longtime friend of the show. So I just want to let you guys know that Eric is one of the wheels behind the show. He's been really pumping us, giving us some ideas of content to put out, and he's just been a friend of the channel. So why don't we start off, Eric? And we'll go into how were you introduced to WoW, and when did you first start playing?
I've always been a huge fan of Blizzard. I started high school in 91, graduated high school in 95, and graduated college in 99. So the 90s were basically just school years were my gaming years. Yeah. Diablo 2, Warcraft 2, StarCraft, that was just my thing. So anything Blizzard touched, in my opinion, was gold. When I found out that they were going to be making the World of Warcraft, I knew I was going to be there. I was going to be there launch day. There's no ifs, ands, or buts about it.
Wow.
I had no idea anything about it. Never played an MMO before. So I went in blind and just started right from day one, being a complete utter noob and sucking my way up to 60. But I got there.
Day one. So a little bit. What was it like when you first got on there and made your first character?
I wish I can tell you more of what the servers were like. It was just me trying to figure out how anything worked. The concept of hitting a button, now you're attacking, and then hitting a button and you stop, just eluded me. Every time I was trying to swing, I was hitting the one button, trying to swing my sword, and ended up you just started and stopped and started and stopped. So it took me quite a while to even get the feel of the game. So it's really difficult to assess, back in patch 1.1, it was like this. It took me so long to do anything.
Yeah.
Everyone was far, far past me by the time I knew anything about the game.
So you're used to like RTSs, and Diablo was one of my favorite games. And, they do share a lot with WoW, but mechanically and gameplay-wise, they're very different games.
Very much so.
Yeah, and I think that's why, like, Melderon and myself, when we first started playing WoW, we hadn't played any other MMO. Hadn't played. We've played some online games, but we were used to the same kind of games: Diablo, RTSs, first-person shooters. And I think the people who did play MMOs before definitely got a head start over the people like us who never did.
Yeah.
So yeah, I can imagine the beginning being a little bit crazy, kind of like a chicken with his head cut off.
Oh, I was awful.
We were too.
Yeah,
Take solace in
definitely.
that.
Oh
Yeah.
my god, the things I did on my warrior.
So what was your first character?
I was a warrior. I was a warrior named McCheese.
McCheese.
A human warrior, and man, it just took me forever to do anything. By the time I reached level 10, I was so happy. I died so many times that I was like, I get to put an ability point into something, and I saw one of the trees was called protection. I'm like, I need all the protection I can get. So
That's exactly what I did.
I just stacked up on protection, and I never grouped. So I was this tank that tanked for no one. It was just awful. It took me forever to do anything.
This sounds exactly like Melderon.
I think you're my WoW twin, dude. I definitely think you're my WoW twin.
Dude, you know what? The name McCheese, where is that from? Because I know that from something. McCheese. Maybe I saw you before. Maybe I saw you around before. Maybe on my Night Elf Rogue, me and you did something before. But what server were you on?
I was on Malagos.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, it was a normal server. It was not PvP.
Oh, okay, gotcha. So McCheese on Malagos.
Oh, yeah.
So did you get that warrior to 60? Did you get him all the way up?
Oh, yes. I got him to 60. And probably in a shade less than 9 months, he got to 60. So, yeah, he got there. Slow but sure, but he got to 60.
All right. So when you got to 60, what were you doing at that point?
Wanting to cause damage and not being able to. It was at that point in time that I realized that I want to be a damage dealer. And yes, warriors can cause damage, but to the level of degree that I was playing, I'm like, let me try my hand at something else. I ran a couple of the 5-man instances. Well, back then you could run them 10-man. So I was doing 10-man strat, 10-man Skolo, things like that, just trying to get some gear. And then I was like, no, enough of this. I need to branch out and try my hand at something else, and that's when I made my rogue.
That's when you made your famous Earlybird rogue, right?
Yeah, that is when Earlybird was born. I immediately created. I wanted to be a dwarf because I love dwarves, my favorite race of all time. So
I love
I wanted to be a dwarven rogue. First one was McCheese, so I wanted to name the rogue, and I made a male dwarf named Hamburglar. Name was taken. So I had to branch out to another McDonald's character. At that point, I was on a McDonald's kick, so I went with Earlybird, and I made her a female dwarven rogue because actually I could probably count on one hand how many times I've seen a female dwarf in the first 9 months I was playing the game.
Very rare. Very rare.
Almost as rare as the Femtar.
Now,
real quick before not to interject, but did you delete your original warrior? I just want to be sure. Did you when you made your rogue? When you switched to rogue, did you delete your original warrior? Just out of curiosity. No. Okay.
I did not. I kept McCheese. If I was able to get back into my old Blizzard account again, I think he would probably still be there at the top of the list as the #1 character.
So you're much smarter than Melderon. That's good to know. Yeah. Who deletes their first character? Come on.
Yeah. Well, I'm not going to try to defend myself. Go ahead.
Yeah. Don't even try. So your favorite race is dwarf, huh? So was it because of the racials, or was it because of?
I knew nothing of racials. I just liked the RP of it. I thought the whole. I grew up playing Dungeons and Dragons.
Okay.
My brother played Dungeons and Dragons. My father played Dungeons and Dragons. So I grew up in this. That was part of life. So and I loved dwarves during the whole mythos of dwarves, all through D&D as well. So I knew that was where I wanted to go.
Did Lord of the Rings have a huge part of that as well? Lord of the Rings. Okay.
No.
Just
not really. I'm a huge fan of Lord of the Rings, but it didn't have a say into that.
Gotcha.
I never really had an appreciation for dwarves until I made my dwarf rogue on the last server that we played on, and I loved him, man. I just loved. I love the racial. I think stone form is probably once you get to use it and against other rogues. A rogue blinds you stone form, and you can get right out of it. It's just. But I fell in love with being this dwarf. I loved the ram mounts. I loved being this little. I like the way they walk in stealth.
Yes.
You know what I mean? I just love the feeling of being a dwarf rogue, and I never thought I would really like that. But I gotta say, I think in vanilla, a dwarf has definitely become my favorite alliance race. So for you, was that you found your rogue, and what was it like? Did you get into doing some damage? Did you figure him out pretty quick? Did you like the style of it?
Oh yeah, right out of the gates, one of the first things I did when I first made the Dwarven Rogue, she appeared. I picked up my first quest, and I took maybe 3 steps in, and someone challenged me to a duel, and it was a level 2 warrior, and or fighter, whatever they're called in days. It's fighter, warrior, whatever.
Oh, warrior.
Warrior. I always get mixed up between D&D and stuff like that. I get called mages, wizards. It happens. But but it was a level 2 warrior, and I'm a level 1 rogue, and I beat him in a duel. And I'm like, I beat someone twice my level. This is it. That's it. I'm sold. And
that is true. That's really cool. Yeah, I think there's certain things that happen in your WoW career that makes your class more than a class. It's like you achieve something. I think it was the first time when I tanked a raid on my Death Knight that I was just like, this is more than a Death Knight. This is my Death Knight. You know what I mean? Yes. And this is kind of that's the experience I think we all have to love a class, really, is that you have to make class your own. And
absolutely.
I think, things like that.
McCheese had me fall in love with the game. Earlybird had me fall in love with the character. That's the way it worked.
So what was your favorite thing to do in WoW at that point? Was it leveling, PvPing?
I was never big into PvPing. I'm still not. I'm never really big for PvP. Every once in a while I'll do a Battlegrounds. It's never my thing. I was always into the leveling, and then of course once I got to 60, it was all about getting my gear. I was a collector of tiers. I wanted my tier 0. And then when patch 110 came out, and was it 110? Yeah, it was 110, where you can get the tier 0.5.
Yeah,
so I was like, that's it. I'm getting my 0.5, and I did. I got the full 8 pieces of that. Then I got into Molten Core and I got my full 8 pieces in that. So then I started working on tier 2, and I just love the collecting of tiers. It's just even if you don't necessarily need to use all the items in it and you find something else that works better, just the fact that you have it, it's almost like a collection. This is, in my bank, this is my tiers, tier 1.5 is tier 1, this is tier 2.
I feel the same way. It's almost like a completionist kind of thing, but it's also the RP of it. Like right now I have 4 pieces. We just started Rated MC a couple weeks ago, and I've got 4 pieces of tier already. And it feels like, okay, I got 4 pieces to go. And like, even though the tier 1 for me is good right now, but when it gets updated, it's not as good. It doesn't matter. I still want to complete that tier set.
Absolutely.
I still want to have, and and then you get the tier set bonuses, which I love having 3 vanilla. I wish they would bring that back to WoW, having the 3 set. I think they even got rid of set bonuses now, but yeah, having that 3rd tier set, and it's usually always something really good. So being able to put that on, and I think that it's something that says, when you walk around an Ironforge and you see a guy who's in full tier, it says something about a player. It's like, this guy did something. He played his heart out to get this full set. So
yes,
yeah, I agree.
Or just no life didn't die them all.
Shut up, man.
Sorry. So I do have. So your WoW career. So how long did it go? Do you still play retail? And if so, and if you don't play retail, why?
I do not currently play retail. The reason why I stopped playing retail is because I fell out of Warcraft altogether around the end of Wrath of the Lich King. And it was one of those things where when patches come out, there's so many catch-up mechanics that if I did try to start playing again, it would just feel like from the point that I stopped until the point that I'm going to start again, I was just getting the fast-forward button. Let's just get this guy through it real quick and get you to current content. And I never liked that. So I felt like it's not worth playing again. Plus, from the point I stopped until now, it's not even the same game. Yeah. It's not remotely the same game.
That's true. It's a completely different game, and it still has its moments in certain ways, but it's a completely different game. And it lost something of what it was. It lost its we could always talk about this, but to me, I feel like it doesn't have that social experience anymore, which I loved about WoW. It doesn't have that feeling for me of I don't feel rewarded as much as I did in the earlier days of WoW. You spent all this time doing something and you felt rewarded. Nowadays, it feels like everyone has to be on the same, everyone is the High Lord, or everyone is this and everyone is that. And it's kind of like this magical go-lucky happy place where people come together and hold hands, and that's really not for me anymore. But so when did you get introduced into private servers?
Maybe about a month ago.
Okay, yeah.
I really did not do anything with private servers at all. I started playing on private servers because I found a channel on YouTube called Defcamp Melderon TV that didn't even know it was an option. I just thought that Vanilla Classic was just not something you could play anymore. And next thing you know, oh look, there's guys playing the game that I fell in love with 8 years ago, and holy shit, I want to do that. So that kind of happened from that point.
Yeah, a lot of people, and for me, it's like this was something that Melderon had pulled me into. I was the kind of person who would go back into playing WoW because, like, that's what I knew how to do. Like, I would always play an expansion when it first came out. I'd get usually bored of it. Or sometimes I get hooked into, like this last time when I played Legion, it was more about maintaining the guild that I was in and kind of struggling just to log in every night. And like that, I finally got sick of it. When Melderon pulled me into the private server, it was like, wow, I can actually play the game that I love again. So, what was that like for you, logging in after so long and logging in again onto Vanilla? Like, what did that feel like?
It was a little surreal. It was a little surreal to do it. One of the first things I did, even though I knew I wanted to play on the Horde side with this particular server, because that's where you guys were playing. So I was like, I'm going to play with people I know, because I don't know anybody else. So the first thing I did is I made an alliance character. I reconstructed Earlybird. Never hit the create button. I just wanted to see my girl again on the screen for the first time. And I'm like, okay, we'll meet again when Classic relaunches, and go back and make the Horde character, and went from there.
Nice.
And do you roll? You currently roll which class?
I am a rogue.
Okay, yeah. It's just to tell the listeners. So you're rolling. And what race did you choose? Just out of
I
curiosity.
am a female undead rogue named Earlybird.
Yeah, if you're gonna go horde rogue, you gotta go undead, right?
Gotta go undead, right?
I've never rolled horde before, so this is is a new experience for me. It's still, truth be told, still feels dirty.
But I gotta say, because like my first character was Alliance as well. It was a Night Elf rogue, and I didn't play Alliance again until I made my Dwarf rogue. Pre-Cataclysm. So like being able, and I didn't do every quest, you know what I mean? So I was so used to Horde that playing Alliance was so refreshing. Like there was all these quests that I remembered when I first played, and all this. It was so refreshing to play a different faction again because the quests are different. Everything's different. Do you get that feeling a little bit like, wow, this is like something I never experienced, and I'm getting to experience this now for the first time, even though it's been something that's been out for so long?
Oh, most definitely. Most definitely. There are entire zones that usually as soon as you walk into, they chase you out immediately if you're Alliance, and you're welcome there now as a Horde. So it's very cool seeing things from that side. I do really enjoy that aspect of it. There's things that you always saw them from afar, and you're just like, I can't go there. I'm Alliance, but now you're starting there, kind of thing. I really like that. I think it's pretty cool.
That's cool.
Yeah, and I will admit, I'm wearing red right now, but I will admit that leveling my mage to 60 was a very fun experience, and I'm very glad I did it. My human mage, sorry if you guys don't know, I have an Alliance mage on Lightbringer, and I very much enjoyed the leveling process because I didn't run the stockades when they made, I didn't run stockades before LFG. I didn't even know, you know what I mean? So I experienced the dead mines. I experienced, the stockades. I get to experience all these Westfall, all these places, Elwyn Forest, that I never experienced pre-Cata, and I have to say that I'm very glad I did it, because how can I say I'm going to make content on WoW if I've only experienced half the game, right? So it's, and I bleed red. I'm not going to ever deny that, but at the same time, I can understand why experiencing both sides of it. And I guess I have a question about the factions. So do you feel the developers really made a distinct difference between the factions? And does that kind of hone into why you're like when you think Alliance, you're like Alliance, I bleed blue. Like, how did the developers kind of bring you into that faction pride, I guess you can call it?
I'm not sure if it was the developers that did it, because they did a good job of separating both. They very much have a different feel to them. It's not just which side of the world you want to start on. It's a very, very different feel between Alliance and Horde. Alliance has that feeling like they've been there since the dawn of time. These castles are very symmetrical, and everything is just built perfectly. And, if you went back in time hundreds of years, these castles would probably still be the way they were. Where everything that's the Horde, you can tell that we are now thrown into this new world. Let's create this. We need to, as a necessity, we need to build here. If you look at what Orgrimmar looks like, it's just sticks stuck in the ground, and that's what the wall is. And that is, I like that, where it just feels like we are the interlopers to this world. We need to find our footing. Let's start building here.
That's an excellent point, because even the races that are native to Azeroth, let's go through those. The Trolls had their whole area disbanded and taken away from them, the Echo Islands, so they had to really pick up and start off again. The Tauren were nomadic before the Horde, so they had Thunder Bluff was built recently, and then the Undead didn't exist before Arthas. Yeah. So they
stole Lordaeron,
exactly. So even the races that are non-alien, like the orcs would be alien. Even the non-alien Horde races are. You're right. There's not a sense of history there at all. I mean, of course, the trolls have an ancient history, but we're talking about the Darkspear trolls here, not not all trolls. So that's a really good point that I never really even thought about. That's really interesting.
A good point. Yeah. And it's almost like on the Alliance, for me at least, when I first played Alliance, like I thought that, this must be the good side, and these guys are fighting, like you said, these interlopers that have come. They're trying to defend their land. But when you start to play and you start to realize that it really isn't that easy, it's not that simple. Each character in each race, through its own, they're doing what they believe is right. You know what I mean? Whether it's the orcs, whether they think that they've been dealt a crappy hand and they're just trying to make their way out. And they feel that the humans are like these racist, genocidal, who just want to get them out of the whole world and destroy them and just think that every orc is evil. And, but you kind of realize that not every person's like that. And it's cool because I really like the idea of how, you get into your faction and you feel like, this is the good faction or this is the faction that I belong to, but you can really do that either way. When I play on the Alliance, I feel like, and that for me, like when I play my character, I have to feel immersed into it. That's just part of me. So like I take on that role of being the dwarf or being the human and being the defender of Azeroth or being the person who's just trying to make a way into my life. The one who's been dealt a crappy hand, like the Forsaken character who's just trying to, basically etch out this living that you've been, handed, this like horrible, card you've been handed to it. You're just trying to survive. So it's definitely something that you bring on. I think that the developers did a really good job at kind of bringing that feeling into the character when you play it. So it's something for me that I think is like almost necessary when I play, to have that kind of feeling at the back of my mind.
I agree.
So once you play Classic, so when Classic comes out, what is going to be your plan? Your first thing to do?
I am going to basically recreate the character that I had back in 2004 through about 2009, and I am going to recreate a female dwarven rogue named Earlybird on a PvE server, Skinner leather worker, the whole nine. I'm just going to copy paste and just reconstruct her as she was. Not going to branch out. Branching out is beforehand. I'm going to stick with my comfort zone, and I'm going to recreate the character, not just the player or
not just the pixels.
Exactly. I'm going to recreate who that character was at her core when she was in the game, and she had a very specific personality. I was a very helpful player. Anyone that needed help, I was there. It didn't matter who they were. If someone's, hey, can I get a run through Nomergun? Yes, you can. Didn't matter if they were a stranger or not. And after about a year of doing that, I'd show up and it would be like Norm walking into Cheers. It's like, hey, it's Earlybird. Just random people whispering me, how's it going? Thanks again. I have no idea what they're thanking me for, because I just tried to be as helpful as possible toward everybody. And that therein lay who the character was. She, in a way, was almost famous on the server. That special snowflake sort of feel, of course, but very much so that she did have that feel, and that will be reconstructed.
I'm glad you brought that up, because that's something that I try to do too. Like I just, when you were talking about this, I remember when I was in Arathi, it was like level 45 or something like that, and these warriors are trying to do their quest for their axe, where they have to kill the in Arathi Highlands, where they have to kill the exiled elementals. And it's really hard for them at level 30, so I went around and I was like me and a group of 4 other warriors, and I stayed with them for like an hour and just helped them with that. And that kind of feeling and that kind of thing, like it's just something that I think is so core to vanilla. There's so many, and it's not every player. There are only usually a handful of players that I've experienced that are the ones who, I mean, the nice thing about it is it does kind of have a karma to it, because it kind of flows into other players when they get helped. But it's something that I think brings like that heart and soul of Classic to it. These people like yourself who are veterans of the game and are willing to give their time to help their fellow player. And I really feel like that is one of the most important things to bring to Classic in order to actually feel like Classic. So I'm really glad you brought that up, because I really wanted to say that is something I believe is vanilla to its core. People helping each other out.
Very much so. Yeah. Very, very much so.
Yeah.
Yep. And I think, unfortunately, I could be talking out of my butt here, but I think those type of players are sorely missed on private servers. I think that the private server population is fine, and it's great, but I think those veteran players are missed. And I think that it's not all veteran players. The veteran players that are of that mindset, I think, are definitely missed. And I think that's something we'll get when Classic comes out, because all those people who don't want to play on private servers, who are still veterans, but don't want to, just min-max the game, are going to come back, and they're going to be that WoW ambassador that we quote unquote called in one of my vlogs. But that's not, of course, not. I'm not coining that term, but I think that's exactly what you are, and I think that's what we're expecting to see with returning players. And do you think that correlates with age? I'm not putting you on blast here, but obviously, you're older than
I'm old.
You're older.
Yes.
You're older than 18, right? So you're not. You're not 18.
You gotta be what, 23?
Yeah, 23.
Yeah.
Yeah. No, absolutely not. No, I'm 41
At least you have all
years
your
old,
hair.
and I'm proud of it.
Yeah, at least you have all your
it's
hair.
still there. It's still there.
Melderon can't say the same, and he's what, 5-6 years younger than you. So
Like it's. So, do you think that does correlate with age? Do you think that type of player is more of an older individual?
I hope not. I hope that's not the case. That the next generation people are just going to be me, and I hope that's not the case. I'm hoping that they're going to have these people that do come through. I don't think it's gone with age. It very well may be, and if that's the case, I'm still going to help them and tell them to pay it forward, and maybe that'll rub off on a couple of these youngsters.
That's the most important thing, I think.
But I think that demographic is the one that's coming back, though. I think that's going to be a huge part of class.
Yeah, we can definitely get to that later, but I absolutely could not agree more. The people that are keeping it alive on private servers are going to be the very, very slim minority of the people that are going to be playing Classic when it comes out.
Because look at, the people who even made, like Nostarius had to be those kind of people, right? Because they essentially did this, the people who did, at least Nostarius, they did it to not worry about profit, whatever. They wanted to bring something that they loved to everyone else, right? So I felt like they probably were these type of people who had that, whether it's the WoW ambassador kind of thing. But like you said, to pay it forward, because say me and Melderon are running a quest, right? And we're clearing all these ads, and some guy comes along, runs in the room, pulls the guy that we went in there to get. Obviously me and Melderon are going to be pissed off, right?
Yes.
And then say that happens again. Now we're on the defensive, thinking that that's going to happen all the time. So we're going to be like, well, screw this guy who's coming in behind us. We're going to get our kill and do this. And it kind of breeds this you're on your own kind of mentality. And everyone's, you know what I mean? So when you get that person who comes in behind and says, hey, do you guys need help with this? Let me invite you, or let you guys tag it first, and then I'll help you kill it. Even if it's someone from the opposite faction, which Melderon and I help sometimes, we'll see somebody who's dying from an elite mob and, just give him a hand or whatever. That kind of mentality breeds that positive kind of mentality where, these guys just help me out. Let me help these guys up here with their quest. And it kind of breeds out. And unfortunately, I've noticed not the latter, but the previous with what I said, the one where people are kind of all about themselves, more on private servers. Not to say that the help out kind of thing doesn't happen on private servers. It definitely does, but not as much as I remembered in vanilla. And I feel like that's a problem. I feel like we really need to try to bring that to vanilla, because it's a social game. And, when you're being social with people, usually you want to be, kind, because, this is another human being who's here. It's not just all about you. If you do something to help somebody else out, it's usually going to help you out in the end, because, you're basically always going to have the need for another person in the game. So why not be helpful? And hopefully that help would come back to you sometime. So I really feel like, and I hope that's something that comes back into Classic when we get there.
One thing that I can definitely say happened back in 2004 through 2009, maybe not as much in Burning Crusade or Wrath, but definitely in Classic, at least on my server. I'm not sure if it was like this in most other places, but when you reached at the end of the zone, you did all the quests in the zone, you're ready to move on. You're done with all the Elwyn Forest quests, it's time to move on to Westfall. It was very common. You just saw someone in general chat say, moving on to the next one, max level for this. Does anyone need help with anything? And usually someone would get a whisper, I'm stuck on this quest, that quest. I did them all. I know where to go. Let me help you out. And they helped out, and then move on to the next zone. And it was constantly, you saw that. Does anyone need help? Does anyone need help? Does anyone need help? It was just something, and no matter what zone you went into, you go into Westfall, and immediately one of the first things you say is, I'm level 20, about to make it to Red Ridge. Does anyone need any help? It's just something that constantly was going on. And I'm thinking, I'm not sure if that's just the way it was on my server, but I'm assuming that's the way it was across the board. And
I've seen that happen before.
I'm going to keep that through.
Yeah. And you know what? It's rare to see that now in private servers,
Yes,
but
I've
it really,
actually never seen
yeah,
that thing happen in private servers yet.
I never have either
No,
yet.
I've never seen
And
that. I have seen people in guilds say, "Does anyone need help with anything?" Yes, I've
yeah,
seen that, and shout out the people that do that. But
Mhm.
specifically, I have not seen that happen, and I don't remember in vanilla because had my head too far out my butt to even look at probably the chat. But you're probably right, and I think that. So that goes into my next thought. So what do you think the demographics are going to look like when Classic launches? Maybe 6 months after Classic launches. What do you think the demographics are going to be primarily based on? So you said that the private server is going to be a very small minority of what. So what do you think it's going to look like?
Yeah, the majority of the players that are going to be there are going to be people that stopped playing. I'm sure there are more people that quit Warcraft than people that currently play Warcraft. I don't know if that number is correct, but I'd be surprised if that wasn't the case. I think they're all going to come back. Not all, of course, but a big chunk of them are going to come back. And I think they're going to bring their friends. I'm thinking there's a bunch of people, a huge slew of people at one point that have said, I'm not going to play Warcraft now because it's like the first Friday the 13th movie you see is part 7. I'm going to be off. I'm not going to, yeah, I'll be able to catch up. I mean, it's a slasher flick. Who cares? But there's still a story that is progressing along with it. And that's
right.
what people coming into Warcraft right now are thinking. This is a reset button. You can come in on the ground floor. I'm thinking people that have heard World of Warcraft and know and have seen people talking about it in the South Park episode. I mean, it is a part of society now.
Yeah.
It's a part of pop culture, and people don't want to play it if they're going to be lost in what's going on. Well, look, here's the way the game was back in 2004 when it first started. Come on board, and I think that is where the majority of the players are going to be.
That's a really good point. And I, you know, when he said that, when he said the point, more people have left than are playing now. So like I was thinking, well, because BFA apparently they had like a lot of people play, but then you think of every expansion, right? All the people who dropped off in the Burning Crusade, or all the people that left at the end of the vanilla, all the people that dropped off the Burning Crusade, all the people that left after Wrath, all the people that left in the middle of Kata when they had that big change, all the people that left at all these expansions, you get all these people together. That's a lot of people, you know what I mean? And a lot of people who have fond memories of the past, and whether they started playing in BC or what, they're going to remember that the game was better then. You know what I mean?
Not just the game, but of old Azeroth too.
Yeah, old Azeroth. Like, yeah, people who have never seen old Azeroth. Like, imagine, I know some people when I was playing in Legion, when I was doing my, with my guild, people who came in on that expansion and had never knew anything that happened before that. Like, to me, that just like boggles my mind to come in so. I mean, it happens. It's normal, but it's like
argue that.
It's just hard for me to understand because it's not my experience. You know what I mean? So it's like it's just. And I'm thinking, I'm like, it almost hurts for him because I'm like, man, if you would have played this expansion or have played vanilla, you would have loved it. You know what I mean? And it almost like I feel bad for them that they haven't experienced this. So at least they'll be able to experience this. But I really feel like you said, that the majority of people are going to be people that are just not playing right now. They're not playing retail. They're not playing on private servers. They're the people that are out there who have fond memories of the game, who will now see that this is a chance to bring back some of those memories. And I really think those people will bring, hopefully, that mentality and that style of play when they were playing it, and bring that back with them. Because honestly, we need that. Like, on private servers, there's not enough of that. We need that in Classic very badly.
Private servers, they're not a great representation of what Classic was. It's better than retail, but it's still not really capturing the feeling of what Classic was. I have a lot of thoughts on that as well, but it definitely has a very, very different feel. It is, I'd say, if you were to put a percentage on it, I'd say it's maybe 60% Classic. It's a huge, very, very different. And I think the vast majority of it is its stagnation, the fact that there are no patches and things really don't move too much, and the populations being way too big. The population's being too big. You help somebody, where the odds you're going to see them again. The population is way too big for private servers.
Yeah, I feel the same. Yeah.
So how do you think we can restore that? I know that's a huge loaded question, but like you had talked about the whole change versus no change debate and what it means to keep vanilla as possible. So we can do this a step by step thing. We don't have to knock it all out at once. But like, what is your like? How do we get back to vanilla experience without doing things to the game that would make it so altered that it wouldn't be vanilla really at all?
You just have to tweak very minor things. There are very, very slight things that need to be tweaked in order to keep vanilla, the feel of vanilla. The fact that Molten Core has already been cleared, it was cleared, what, like a week after the server came out or something like that for Northdale? It was...
Oh, yeah. I mean, these guys have been doing it for years. You know, it's usually at the guild like Progress, like they have done on like all the big private servers that come out, like Nestarius, Elysium, all the other Chronos. They get in there, Chronos, they get in there. They've done this boss hundreds of times, no, more than hundreds of times. Who knows? You know, they one shot everything. They come in there with all the world buffs, with all the consumables that they can, and they just train wreck through it. I mean, and like on my guild, we've downed everyone except Rag so far, because like not everyone has gotten the aquatescences from the quests from the guys out there. But like, you know, we're a little bit slower, but still we got Ani done on like our second attempt or third attempt or whatever. And like, you know, it's definitely a pretty quick process, you know.
Okay, then riddle me this. If you put this one small tweak into the game, just one small tweak, whenever you enter an instance or a raid, any buffs you have on you are removed. Anything you have to put on yourself, you do while you're in the raid, whether it's Fortitude or Mark of the Wild or Intelligence buff. Anything you can buff yourself while in the raid, that's fine. But anything you brought outside in is removed. Then how difficult, how quick would people get through? And people get through Molten Core? And would you still call that classic? The answer is absolutely you would. But now there's no world buffs, and as you know, world buffs are making characters twice as strong as what they should be. One small tweak fixed.
Very similar to what Taladrill was speaking of. Yeah,
and Taladrill had some. I have to say, I am a no change guy, and Taladrill's points were logical, well thought. And it's obvious that he cares about the game, and he's not doing it to make it. Yeah. You know, he's not like LFG, a new character enemy. No, he's. It's a very, very good, thoughtful approach, and I have to say that it made me think. I'm still thinking, and I think that is a very good way of making the content relevant, and so are the things like making certain things bindable on the character, making alchemy thing. What was it? The flasks that you bind. And itemization. And the thing is, there's back end changes, and this is going to sound a little slight-handed. And I'm sorry if it sounds that way. There's back end changes you can make to the bosses that no one will even know. Okay.
Yeah.
Because Blizzard knows the real numbers, right? Mm-hmm. And everything is pretty well theorized that what the armor ratings are and the attacks damage and stuff. But Blizzard can just say, "Nah, it was off, totally off."
Well, not even that. I mean, like look at Ani. Ani for like the private server guys had thought that they knew how Ani worked, right? The way that we fight Ani now on private servers is not the way it worked on. If you haven't watched that newest one of the new interviews they did with Nano from Nestarius, that when they went and talked to Blizzard, they joked about they didn't get Ani. A lot of the stuff that they have on private servers, and listen, I'll be the first one to say, private server guys, they have done an amazing job with what they had. I will never talk down on those guys because they've done an amazing job, but they're not Blizzard, right? They had to do with what they could with what they had. They're doing
it with non-proprietary information.
Exactly.
They don't have any.
These guys did a great job with what they had, but when you get Blizzard in there, they'll be able to do the, they got the Ani fight wrong. I mean, it's very similar to how it was, but it's technically not the same as what it was with Blizzard. So little things like that, like Melderon said, will we notice a difference? Will it be harder? Will this and that? Like, I trust, and I have to put my trust in the Blizzard that they have the best intentions in mind. They want to do it to keep the feel of vanilla, right?
Absolutely. There's that to that. There's no question,
right?
And I think one of the things that they need to do to keep the feeling of vanilla right is minor tweaks and balances. I'm not talking major things. I'm not talking pure talent resets or anything. bonkers like that, but if you played the game between 2004 and 2006, you weren't going more than about 2 months without there being, oh, by the way, we made this 2 seconds slower. This is 2 seconds faster. This is 5% more less powerful. This is 3% more, more powerful. And that's just the way it was. There was always little tiny tweaks and changes coming through. It was a constant flux of things changing, and most of which, like Melderon said, are behind the scenes and you wouldn't even know it. But there was a series of people that looked in, realized, wait a minute, this isn't right. That's not the way Blizzard intended it to be, and moved on. I don't think Blizzard ever intended Molten Core to be taken down within a month of the server being open. I'm pretty sure that if the private servers were being housed and worked by Blizzard, they would be looking like, oh yeah, world buffs, yeah, let's get rid of that. And next thing you know, poof, they're nerfed, or they're removed, or they're shortened to they only last a half hour, or something like that. They would drastically change what needed to be done.
So like John Stats, who we had on our last episode, and Talager was saying, it's almost like Blizzard was in a beta, or they were still learning a lot while Classic was out, and there was some stuff that they didn't even get to, that they never really got under consideration. And you kind of see this culture, or this kind of like thing that happens, on private servers where people where they try to like break the game, where they try to get like through loopholes, and they find every in and out, like, oh, okay, this boss has a lot of, fire damage, so we're going to get everyone in here into Ubers, and we're going to get the fire resistance buff, and we're going to do that. So like you see this thing where the game has been out for so long, where you find shortcuts around everything. Shortcuts have been found to get around this boss, to do this, to do this, to do that. So you almost see this like culture where it's like people like to find like little ways to almost cheat the game. You know what I mean? And people have argued that is something core to vanilla, or something core to classic. And I would say to an extent maybe. But a lot of these things weren't learned until after Classic's natural end. They were learned through private servers. They were learned through all of everything that came afterwards. So I would be very hesitant to say that is true vanilla, because technically, when everyone was at least when I was playing in vanilla, and everyone's experience of vanilla is different. Mine is very different than yours. Mine is very different than the guy who cleared Nax. You know what I mean? I didn't even like really care about world buffs when I was playing vanilla. When I got the Ani buff, I was like, oh dude, now I can go and like kill stuff quicker. Cool. Like I didn't know I wasn't going. I only raided a few like ZGs, and like got the ZG buff and Stranglethorn. Oh cool, sweet. I got the one buff that lasts when I don't when it doesn't go away when I die. Awesome. And you know what I mean? Like that was my experience with it. So you got to put that into your head, and also remember that everyone's experience is different.
Yeah.
So what do we come down to at the end? How do we meet in the middle is where I'm like thinking, how do we get the guy who cleared Nax happy? How do we get the guy who never even set foot into a raid happy? How do we meet in the middle? And I think that's the question, I guess, right?
I think the question in that regard is bring out 1.12 with patches, talents, balances, everything of that nature, and then keep a strict eye on it and see who's doing what that is not necessarily the way Blizzard intended it, or whatever however that would be. And whose determination is that? It's Blizzard's. And when live servers happen, Blizzard will be able to monitor that, and they'll be able to say, okay, well, this needs to be altered a little bit. This needs to be, this spec should be viable in raids. This one, maybe not so much, and try to get that in. And because it's a fluxing, constant moving thing, if they do patch something, minor changes, and it doesn't work, they can patch it back. They can just keep it alive. That's what the World of Warcraft is. I know you guys are focused on it's the World of Warcraft. Mm-hmm. It's the world of Warcraft. The world is the big part of it, and the world is not a snapshot in time. It is constantly evolving, and that doesn't necessarily mean new content and new patches and new talents, but it's going to have where warlocks are going to be the people that cause the highest DPS in raids for a period of time. And then the next patch comes out and leaves their shit in ruins. And next thing you know, now mages are topping the charts. And now, now it's going to be rogues for a little bit. Now hunters get their time in the sun. Because that's the way it was in Classic. It was constantly moving
Shaman
like a real
tanks.
world.
Sorry. I was just screaming there for a second.
Yeah,
No.
and I think we have to really kind of see, like no one's going to be happy, like we're not going to see, like 20 balance druids in a row. Like that's something that's not vanilla, of course,
Yeah.
and Blizzard realizes that they're not going to go and say, oh, we're going to make balance druids viable. We're going to make enhancement shamans viable for raiding. We're going to do all this. And when I say viable, what I really mean is optimal. But yeah, I think those are things that, and like I said, from what I've heard, the guys who are working on this Blizzard team, on the Classic team, they're guys who are very passionate about Classic. And, one of my questions to most of my guests is like, do you guys trust Blizzard to give you the Classic that you think should be?
Implicitly. Absolutely, 100%, without a doubt, yes, I to do so because I've trusted them in the past and it worked. And now the people that were playing World of Warcraft, there was a split. Some people wanted something and some other people wanted it to remain the same. And they are giving the people that are happy with BFA exactly what they want right now. Exactly. People that are playing retail are not pissed at retail. They love it because it's what they want. And Blizzard listens to them. Well, guess what? Now there's another target demographic. Blizzard's going to listen to them too. I completely trust that they'll do this right.
That's good. It makes me feel at ease too that you said that because I mean, like, I do have my doubts occasionally, and but when you look at the game and how it evolved, of course there were going to be changes like that were going to happen, and I think that something Blizzard does sometimes too much maybe is listen to the player base, and then because a lot of the times the player base will say, oh, we want this change, we want this change, we want this change, they get it, and they're like, we fucking hate this change. We hate this change. Change it back, and that has happened over and over and over again throughout the life of WoW. You know what I mean? So I think sometimes Blizzard, when they listen to themselves and they say, okay, we know how this is going to go. We see what happens here. It kind of goes better sometimes. But yeah, I mean, it's something where they know that they can have both demographics. Like you said, they, people who want all these changes to vanilla. Oh, guys, we have a vanilla with this. Listen, I mean, honestly, it's probably not the game for you. You would probably be more suited towards the fast style BFA game. Yeah. And, if that's not the game for you either, then maybe, it's something in between. Maybe, hopefully down the line, if Blizzard puts out a BC expansion, but we have to look at the two major demographics here, right? And we have the guys who like the BFA style of games, and then the massive amount of people who want to go back to vanilla and play that. And Blizzard knows they can make both happy. So why would you screw around and try to, mangle this up and mangle this up and miss the mark?
Yeah, and they're not going to do that. But I do think that what you're saying, what John Stats is saying, and what Taladrill is saying, they have to differentiate themselves from private servers. It's their intellectual property. They're going to do it. It's their baby, right? So they're going to make it as glorious as possible. We don't know what that is yet. We have to trust in them, and I know a lot of people are going to be like, well, we can't trust in them because of what they would BFA. Okay, but they made the conscious decision to open the game up to the other demographic, right? They've done that. They've conceded that they were wrong. Jalen Brack himself conceded he was wrong. Okay, so there is a huge demographic of us that want to play this game, and we have to trust that they're going to do it right, and they're going to differentiate themselves private service. Sorry, guys, it's going to happen. There's going to be differentiation somewhere. I don't know where there's going to be. I heavily doubt it's going to be in class balancing. I heavily doubt it's going to be in graphics. But I do think it will be in things that make dungeon content and raid content and PvP content more enjoyable.
Very much so.
And let's be honest, the top tier guilds are going to be the top tier guilds no matter what they do.
They're going to still burn for MC.
Yeah, absolutely. They're just skilled. They have the time. They have the effort. They have the manpower. They have they will be able to blow through it no matter what is thrown at them.
But to play devil's advocate, just to give Orkbit a little bit of love here, he has some good points with, do we reward people who do the extra mile? And I think that's and again, I look at both sides of this argument. Yours, Taladrill's, John Stats' they're very, very good arguments, and I think that's probably more what they're going to go into. But Orkbit did bring up some good points about, do these world buffs help otherwise casual raids that couldn't clear the content? And we don't know. I don't know the answer to that question. I don't know. I have enough raid experience. Defcamp.
I'll give you an example. So we so we're progressing through a molten core. So like we still haven't down rag. Okay, we were having trouble with rag. We still have a lot of people that are in our guild. Isn't we have trouble getting exactly 40 people. I think we had like 37 or 38. So we're short a couple people, and the rate is very low in fire resist. Of course, there's a lot of fire damage in the rag fight. So we were having trouble, and if we would have had world buffs at that point, because we're wiping at this point, our world buffs have already gone through. We went through all of MC at this point. We probably would have downed rag, and there was an attempt where we finally said, okay, let's go out, let's go to Ubers. You can mind troll one of the people in Ubers.
Yep. Right in the center there.
80 fire resistance, right? Mm-hmm. And we did another pull and we got him down like 5%. Now, if we had world buffs there again, we would have downed him, right? So, but again, that was like our first time doing rag. Should you down a boss your first time doing rag? In my experience doing mythic raiding, no. I mean, I understand like mythic raid today in Legion is a lot different, but I'm used to having 100 plus like pulls on a fight, in mythic raiding when doing it in later expansions, like 100, thinking about 100 plus wipes, on a last boss is what I'm saying. So say like that's normal, and you think it like what it was, and of course that's not Vanill's a lot different. The mechanics were a little bit different, but don't get me wrong, the mechanics still are I think are beautiful in Vanilla WoW. Like I love the mechanics for Ani. I mean. And at its core, a lot of those mechanics have been recycled over and over again in WoW's history. And a lot of these people who say there are no mechanics or the mechanics are stupid, like some of the mechanics are really well thought out mechanics. They may be a little bit
maybe
different.
They're not experienced in the mechanics because they're burning the bosses down too fast.
Well, somewhat. I mean, you can do that, with the gear and but like as someone who is in pre-raid BIS. Or mostly pre-raid BIS, and you should have a little bit of struggle on a last boss, in that raid. So I think it's perfectly normal to, think that, and like I said, having those world buffs would have made the difference. It would have absolutely made the difference.
But so would have having fire resist gear and enough people, right? So
true, but I think towards the end, we did have And even after we got the fire resist buff, we still only got him down. Now, I got to also say, like 20 or so people in this guild had never done rag.
Mm-hmm.
So that's another thing. This isn't a guild that has, like Progress, that has done rag hundreds of times. You know what I mean? So that's what I look at. You have to look at, okay, are these people who have never done the fight? Are these people who are in their gear? Are these people that are this and that and this and that? So there's a lot of different ways to look at this, right? Because you can look at it at the people who have done this fight, they've done this, they've done that. But when Classic comes out, the fact is there's going to be all different demographics. There's going to be the people that have done it over and over. There's going to be the people who have never done it. There's going to be the people that don't have any clue what they're doing. And I think at its core, the dungeons, Molten Core is not a very difficult, even in the terms of vanilla, it's not a very difficult raid. It's the fight. Rag can be difficult if you've never done it, whatever. But you look at other fights in vanilla that are much more difficult. Like Cthulhu and just the Naxxramas. So when you look at world buffs in that whole picture, that's when to me it gets a little bit okay. Now, what if you would taking world buffs out of the equation for a group that is trying to make its way through Nax, because Nax is, people are expected to have consumables, to have world buffs. And even at that point, you're going to, now, and the other thing about world buffs, you lose them, most of them, your first wipe. When you're progressing, you're going to die. So the only buff that stays on is the ZG buff through death, right? I think. Yeah.
I don't know. But I see your point. There's a lot of thought that has to go into this. And I think that they're going to do a good job. And we got to trust in that. And we have to just say, we've said what we stated. And you said, in Earlybird, we talked earlier before the interview about Mark Kern tweets. And we can elaborate on them. But basically, it's, we know what we wanted. And I think they realized that. They realized the core principles of Vanilla WoW is what we wanted back, you know. And I think minor things are up to their liberty to change. It's their game, you know.
Yeah.
And we'll see how that goes, definitely. But how did the Mark Kern tweets kind of I don't know, build you into this stance that you're in now?
Because originally back in February, when he originally made the 6 tweets that he made back then, it was to try to relay that you can't make both markets happy between retail and classic. So don't try to make something that's going to appease both. Give the classic people classic, give retail people retail. Like you said, between give people Pepsi or Mountain Dew, don't give them Pepsi Dew. That's the don't mix them together. It's going to be disgusting. You want to give them each their own thing, and that was what he drove home. But the thing that really hit me, and I did have the tweet printed out, he specifically did state that there are going to be changes. Everyone's like, there has to be no changes. Classic means no changes. No, classic does mean changes. It means progressive changes. It means things that are going to have to go through. And his tweet even came out and said that. He says, what classic needs is a sort of constitution, principles that made Vanilla WoW what it was. Then you can build changes and patches on top of that, so long as they never veer from these established principles that will guide future changes. He himself said that directly right to the CEO of Blizzard, that there's going to be changes. Make them core to vanilla. Don't give us LFR or other garbage things that was thrown in. You know, we don't want achievements. We don't want transmog. Transmog is a thing, right? Yeah, things like that. Yeah, we don't want that, and that's never going to show. That's of course never going to show, but there's going to be changes. There's going to be future patches, as he specifically did state. That was what he was relaying. This is what Nostarius is for, and this is what the post Nos postmortem and everything that it had when it was given to Blizzard. That's what they were saying is, look, give people classic, and when you do make changes to it, keep it the way it's supposed to be. So he specifically even said, when you make changes to it, because it's not meant to be private server stagnant. That's not what the game was meant to be.
Yeah, I agree.
And I think the idea of a constitution would be, I think it's a great idea, and I think that could be something that maybe the player base could work on together with Blizzard, and then let Blizzard do the rest from there, right? Mm-hmm. So we get a constitution down. Okay, like the idea of hybrids and how hybrids are in vanilla, the idea of what PvP is in vanilla, and go through all the list of everything in vanilla, what makes vanilla important, and to not go past these guidelines, and then basically give that to Blizzard and say, okay, we trust you, stay to these guidelines, here you go. I think that would be a great idea for Blizzard and the community leaders to work on, because we have some good community leaders here in the vanilla world, right? We have people that are that have the voice of the people, basically, with them. So I think that would be the best way to go about it. And Mark Kern, someone who loves vanilla, someone who understands the community, I think as well, would be a great person to work with us, although he doesn't work with them anymore. But I think that, and you know what, they wouldn't have done this if they didn't think that they could have made this right and make it for the people. So yeah. I think you bring a really good point there. And Mark Kern's tweets were, like you said, and it sounds like these are changes that would make it more vanilla-like, and that's
exactly. That is what vanilla needs. It needs the changes to keep it vanilla. Everyone that wants classic and wants vanilla to be what it is, you need to keep it moving and keep it as it is. When people played vanilla, there was not 10 years of theory crafting while it was being done. Yeah. Theory crafting is not classic. So you're going to have to do something to, I don't want to say completely leave that shit in ruins. You want to reward the people for everything that they've done.
Right.
But you also don't want to have it be where you're downing raid bosses your first, your first go with them, even though you're in greens and, you know, you should at least be in all blues at this point, or at least the best greens that there are, like 1 or 2 greens and the rest blues when you're going into molten core. I mean, the fact that you can take 25 smart people and 15 kind of people that don't know exactly what they're doing and still be able to kill the first 3-4 bosses of molten core and give them some epics. No, that's not the way the game was meant to be done. It's just, there has to be something that's altered to make it more vanilla like it was meant to be.
Yeah. And I think there's going to be a lot of, you know, and I'm not saying what the theory crafters are doing has all been for naught. I think that it's very important that we have people like that in the community, like Taladrill, like all these theory, like there's other names I can't really think off the top of my head. So that stuff is really important. So still make those, if you're a content creator listening to this, still make those guides. Still make, you know...
Very much so.
Yeah, please do.
Oh,
I mean,
absolutely.
I think those things are going to be core to vanilla. I think that the boss guides, all those things are important. We don't need to fret about breaking the meta too much. I think the breaks they're going to make to the meta are going to be slight, yet poignant to kind of bring that vanilla feel back. And I think that's the only thing we're trying to say. And I think they will do progressive content after next. And I know that's...
you do?
I really do think you're going to do it. Yeah, I think you're going to create a classic timeline. I really think this is going to be...
I don't think they will. I mean, honestly, like I think that they will first and foremost release probably after the classic server's been out for a while, go into releasing the Burning Crusade. I think that's the
most logical thing, but the more I think about it, I think people are yearning for this type of game. And BC is still that game. I'm not saying it's not, but massive changes were done in BC that did affect the gameplay. And I'm not saying
some good.
Yeah. Class balancing was, I guess, well, that's
class balancing and Burning Crusade was spot on. It was exactly what it needed to be. I would absolutely agree with that. I would even go so far as to say that if you are going to put in content after 1.12 and put in, say, a level 60 max of Karazhan, for instance, or something of that nature, they may even, and I just came up with this on the fly, but they may even want to do the Burning Crusade talents, where you can talent into 41 points. You still only have the 60 level 60 worth of points to do, but you can now go 41 points rather than 31. It's an option out there. I don't know if it's something they would want to do, but something that they could possibly look into to make people stronger for these contents and have that be a progress. I don't know, but I'm sure that they'll look into it and they'll beta test everything that needs to be done, and they'll come up with the right decision. Just like I said before, I do trust Blizzard.
I do too, and I think the smartest thing for them to do is ask the community what we want. You know, do we want to continue the Burning Crusade? Do we want to relive the timeline up until the Wrath? Because that's probably where they're going to end. I mean, obviously that's where the classic world ended. Yeah. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
But as long as those classic and BC servers are still available, I think that's the most important thing, right?
Yes.
We have to absolutely. We have to make sure if you want to play vanilla, you can still play vanilla. And how are they going to do that?
Yeah.
I don't know. They're going to do restarts like they do in private servers? I don't know. I don't know. These are questions for the future, I think, and there's something we shouldn't really bog ourselves down with right now.
Exactly. That's we're looking too far. We have to focus on what's coming immediately at this present point. Yeah. What's going to happen after that? Who knows? You know, I don't think it's going to be. But Classic could be a complete flop, and sorry about that. And I don't think that's going to be the case. You can't plan far enough past the next step.
Yeah.
Yeah, I agree. And so there's something I do want to talk about, and we made vlogs about this and videos, and Classic is more than a game for all of us, especially in these 3 people we're talking to right now, and I'm sure for every one of our listeners, it's more than just a game. And you had a personal loss during your playtime of WoW, and I'll let you talk about that. But so basically, what I want to get into is that loss has affected you deeply, and it's affected WoW has really been a helping hand, I think, in that I could be speaking. I don't want to speak for you, but maybe you can elaborate on that story about how Warcraft and your personal life have kind of mixed. And please do that.
Sure. I think where to start on that one then. Back in I guess I might as well start. Like I said before, I'll start from the beginning. In 2001, when World of Warcraft first started people started talking about it, and it was still in production, but you knew it was coming. it was around that time that I met my girlfriend at the time, Kimberly, and we started dating and whatever, and we got married in 2004, which is, of course, when Classic came out. I didn't play Classic as much. Obviously, I was a newlywed, didn't get a whole lot of timing on that, but I did a little bit of raiding in 2006. Once we were at the 2-year mark. In early 2007, my wife was diagnosed with osteosarcoma. It's a bone cancer in her left knee. And she spent a lot of time in hospitals that were not close, so I really couldn't travel back and forth, or I couldn't take time off of work to spend weeks at a time with her in the hospital. So there were times where I was home alone, and times where even if she was home, she was so exhausted from her treatments that she would sleep sometimes 14, 16 hours a day trying to get her strength back. So I had a lot of free time. So in 2007 is when Burning Crusade came out. I spent a lot of time on Burning Crusade, and I really fell into the game at that point. Hugely, it was a coping mechanism. I was home. She loved the fact that I was home, and I was able to take care of her. I wasn't out and about doing other things, and I was able to put a lot of time into the game and a lot of time for my wife, and it kind of worked well for her and me. Mentally, I was able to keep myself strong because I was doing things I love and keeping her healthy, and she was happy because she was being cared for, and that is a part of playing a game that I absolutely loved. In 2008, her cancer was put into remission. She became healthy again. And at that point, she wanted to be out and about and do things. And at this point, I was playing Warcraft, and I was probably putting in 20 to 30 hours a week into the game. And did that for maybe about a year, even after she was announced into a remission. And so we both came to the decision that this isn't going to work. I need to stop playing this game. I'm thrilled to have my wife back, and I'm going to continue to be with her. And that is the way it worked from 2008. I quit World of Warcraft when it was dead smack in the middle of Wrath of the Lich King. Many of my friends kept playing the game, and whenever new patches came out or whenever new expansions came out, they'd tell me about it. And every single one just made me cringe more and more of what they've changed. And it had to be maybe around 2013 or 14. I stopped even paying attention at that point. I'm just like, this game is, whenever anyone mentioned Warcraft, like I told you in the email, it was almost like remembering a friend that you had lost from a long time ago. Yeah. Someone that moved away when you were a kid. You're like, oh, I remember playing with that kid. He was awesome. That's what Warcraft was. It didn't exist anymore. This game that was left was a husk of what I wanted. It made other people happy. I'm not downplaying the people that play retail by any stretch, but it just wasn't for me. It wasn't my game. In 2015, my wife was re-diagnosed with osteosarcoma. It came back. Unfortunately, that particular type of cancer, when it does come back, it does not just come back in other bones. It comes back in organs. And it came back in her lung. She had to have her lung removed. It came back in her pancreas. She had to have part of that removed. It came, just a lot of tumors kept coming up all over. And we couldn't stop them. We tried. Everything we did, we tried and we failed. And in November of 2017, I lost my wife to cancer. It finally won. And I'm very happy that I spent as much time as I did with her. She was my life. She's my world. I kind of fell into a little bit of a depression. I didn't know where to turn or anything like that. And it was around the end of December when I really just started to get my head out of everything and trying to live life again as normal. And I kind of turned my head toward Warcraft again. I was like, I used to play. I stopped playing because of her. Let's see what this retail thing is like. And I was reading reviews about Legion, and they just were not pleasant. Just the people that played back then just were not happy with Legion. But I realized that Legion wasn't the only thing that was talked about during BlizzCon of 2017. They announced classic servers. While in November of 2017, the same month that my wife passed, they announced Classic is coming back again. So it kind of sparked my interest in the game. And it did have a like I said, it's more than a game to me. It carried me through a tough time in my life. It's a game I absolutely do love. And it's something that it does go hand in hand with my real life and how it worked and the point that I'm at right now. And it led me to gather more information about Classic. First thing I wanted to know was a release date, which is funny because we still don't know what it is. And in January, I'm like, why isn't there a release date yet? So because there was no information on release dates, it turned me to turn to, rather than news articles, it was easier to watch videos, see what I can find. So I typed in Warcraft Classic into YouTube and see what videos came up. And the very first video that came up, I owe this guy a beer, actually. It was a video by Karzog. It was a video called 5 Reasons to Play Classic WoW Retail versus Vanilla. It was an 11-minute video, and it was done, and I had chills. The hair was standing up my arms, and I'm just like, freaking yes, this is it. Is this coming back? Is this the way it works? And I just looked into more videos from there, and that's when I found your channel, and I realized that you don't just talk about Warcraft. Warcraft means something to you. That if you don't play the game, you don't get it, and no one will ever get it. And I thoroughly fell into the game years ago, and I'm psyched and prepped to do it again because I know what it means, and I'm thrilled that there's a community of people like you guys out there that I don't have to explain that it's more than a game, because you know it's more than a game because you played it. If you didn't play it, you're not going to know. You're just going to be like, how is it more than a game? No, it's just a game. You run around, you kill shit at the end. No, there's so much more to it than that. And like I told you guys before, I thank you for doing what you're doing, because I don't have to verbalize what I feel, because you freaking hit the nail on the head, and everything, it comes out in how you present everything. And I love that.
Sorry, give me a second. So what I want to say, well, first of all, I hate bringing this stuff up, but I'm really glad you talked about that, because it means the game can really make or break your day, man. It can really do it, and I mean, it can really make your day. Sorry, if you're having a bad day, you can log on and you can
immerse
you
yourself.
can forget about shit, and you can. And I mean, I'm not a religious person, but maybe Kimberly had something to do with the launch release. Who knows, man? I don't know. I don't know. I'm just really happy. I'm sorry that you had to talk about that, but at the same time, I know you wanted to, and it just it really hits home.
It does, and it's like it's.
And thank you for the kind words you said.
Yeah,
and I'll definitely tell Cargos what you said as well. That's he's a friend of the channel as well. And sorry, go ahead, Defcamp.
No, I talked to you, Eric, and I talked a little bit about it before, and it's like during like a darker time in my life when I was going through problems with addiction, and I went to rehab and came out, and like the only thing I had was WoW, and that I fell into that like really hard. Like that was, I was at a point where like mentally I couldn't deal with anything else other than WoW. And like that's when it really became more than a game for me. And it was, the people that I met through WoW, the times that I had in there, and it's always been there for me throughout, because it wasn't that only time. That I've had other struggles through my life, and now I'm getting close to having 5 years clean, and it's still there for me, even when I'm having like a rough day, and it's those memories that I have through the game, of those good times. And it's amazing how, because other people don't understand, and it's hard to kind of explain how much it played a part into my life at that time, and even now, and it's just when you hear someone else who, your experience is of course different than mine, but at the end of the day, we were both brought to this game through something that we were dealing with, and had this escape, or it's not even to me. Yeah, it's an escape, but I learned so much through the game. I learned it helped me like dealing with WoW, talking about it with WoW, it helped my social skills so much. Like being able to even do this, what we're doing now, like I would have never have done years ago, and it was actually WoW that helped me become that kind of person, and the kind of person who I am now, and it's amazing. It really is, and I I'm really, really proud to say that, like, today, that where I am today and how much I've gone through and that this has helped me along the way. It means a lot. It does. And it means a lot that you, feel that way about our channel and us and all. Because, like, that's one thing that we try to do. We try to express our feelings about this game and why we love it so much, what it means to us, and we know that there's other people out there like us, right? And we want to make a connection with those people.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
So. We're glad we made a connection with you, and it's great to have a human interaction. And I guess people don't. There's so many negative things out there about Warcraft, about it's addicting, and about how it takes away from your responsibilities and whatever. And okay, sure. But you can say that about anything. You can say that about sports, drinking, drugs, the gym. People. There's addictions all over the place. And it's part of the human condition. Addiction is part of the human condition, and I think that if you can find something and do it healthily and do it with enough, and still not affect your normal life, then if it's your way to cope. I mean, it was my way to cope with a lot of things, and nothing that compares to yours. But at the same time, it's still there, and it's always there when you log in, and we'll have it back. We'll have an official server to go back on and experience those things again soon. And people have lost on Warcraft. People have met love on Warcraft. People have, experiences that they'll remember until their deathbed. And that's an amazing thing. And Eric, thanks for telling that story. I know it's probably not easy to talk about, but thanks for.
No, like I've told you guys before. Talking about her is like my favorite topic, so that's not a problem. If I can relay her story and raise awareness, I'll do whatever I can.
Yeah, and speaking of that, underneath Earlybird, if you're on a podcast, if you want to head over to the YouTube channel, but if you're watching on YouTube, underneath Earlybird's picture, his video, there's a curesarcoma.org, and that's something you can go on and donate if you are interested in helping people with cancer, which is always a great thing to help, because cancer sucks and it affects everybody. It doesn't matter who you are. So, but that's something that Earlybird doesn't have any other links, but that's something that he specifically asked that if he could plug anything, that's what he would plug. So that's.
Well, I'm really looking forward to playing more with you, and I know that when Classic comes out, I'm definitely going to have an Alliance character. I know that because I do want to play Holy Paladin. We still haven't decided what we're going to do come Classic, but I really look forward to being able to help bring some of these core vanilla things back. And I think, like I said, people like yourself, a lot of other people out there, is going to make the game feel more like vanilla than anything. More than Blizzard can do, more than anyone can do. It's the community that really has, I think, the most important job to truly make vanilla feel that way. I mean, of course, Blizzard has to give us the game and all this, but if you have that community, you have that. To me, it means so much. Being able to meet somebody while running across, Feralis, and he's about to get ganked, and you help him out, and the next thing you know, you start a conversation, and the next thing you know, you invite him to the guild, you start a friendship, and you met somebody in your life through a game, through an encounter that was so small in the whole scheme of things, and then you meet somebody who could become a very close friend, or you never know. It's amazing, and and I really can't wait until Classic comes out, and I've been really getting into listening to some more. I've been listening to Josh's podcast, the Countdown to Classic. He had the other one with like you said, Nano, and listening to him and hearing what the people like Ian Hazakostas, Jay Allen Brack, Mike Morheim, the way they approach Classic and the way they seemed very, very, very interested, and they all treated it like it was almost like a child of theirs, and almost like it was something that they were so proud of. It really gave me hope into thinking that this is really going to be something special. We're going to have, will it be the exact same experience? Of course not.
No.
Will it be something amazing? I think so. I really do.
I think they could recapture that. They're not going to capture lightning in a bottle again, but they definitely they know what they're aiming for, and I trust Blizzard to be able to do this. I absolutely agree that this is it's going to be an amazing trip, and I'm looking forward to taking it with as many real life friends as I can convince to do, as well as the people that I meet, and it's just going to be a blast.
Yeah, I can't wait. So you're going to play a rogue, right? Absolutely, and we already. So I think I still have a choice, man. And like I love Holy Paladin. I love Holy Paladin in vanilla, but.
Well, we don't have to rush, dude.
Hard.
We don't have to rush.
I know.
And we can play both sides, dude. We can play both sides.
Yeah, that's true. I mean? That's true.
What does it matter? Yeah. But I think that's the point, right? We let's enjoy it. Let's not worry about what faction. Let's Let's play both factions. Let's play all the quests. Let's do all the dungeons. It doesn't matter. Yeah. It's going to be
if they do patch it the right way, they should be able to give it the longevity it needs.
Yes, that's that's a very important thing as well.
Yeah, I think one of the first things that they definitely need to do when they launch, and this isn't a change per se, this is not a change at all, have everything give less XP, hair, just to have the leveling take its time. Just have the game not be ready for an expansion after 2 years. Have it be ready for whatever is coming new after 3 years. Stretch everything out by about 50%. That's not a change at all. All you're doing is expanding how the game was meant to be. Make it more grindy at this point. Hell yeah. I'm all for it.
I'm all about that as well. Because like the thing is, like sometimes when I'm leveling, this always happens to me. I'm like, oh man, I can't wait to get higher level. And then I get to my 50s. I'm like, I don't want to hit 60 yet. Like there's still so much I want to experience before I hit 60. And then every time I hit 60, I'm like, God damn it, I didn't get to do this quest, this quest.
Yeah, I totally missed
that zone every time. And I'm like, man, like when I get to my 50s, I'm like, well, I'm moving too quick now. And I feel the same. Like I don't want to be doing MC and worrying about, BWL coming out in 2 weeks. Like,
no, you definitely do not want that to be a case. That's not the way it was. You don't want to feel like, oh no, I need to keep up with the Joneses. I need to be able to make sure I'm right at the end.
That's what retail is. It's like, oh no, all this gear will be irrelevant next patch.
And if anything, I think it'll be in their best interest to make it, if not, what it was like in vanilla, the longevity, but even longer, because they're going to have retail and they're going to have classic, right? Well, are they going to want to keep classic going fast and have two things going at the same time, then worrying about BC coming out? It might incentivize them to kind of have vanilla classic as the slower paced, process. So I think that would be smarter for them to do that.
Yeah.
I myself always enjoy the leveling process. I know there's people out there who don't. They just want to hit end game. But dude, I mean, when I'm telling you, like no other point in WoW was leveling so important.
No, and you can't make everybody happy. And I think the vast majority of people that want Classic want that grind. I think the majority of the people that will play this game are not going to be happy if they're just leveling faster than they have quests to do. And they want to be able to have that experience and go through and level as you're supposed to level. That's the way the game was intended to be. That's what Blizzard knows the way the game was intended to be. And I think that's what they're going to end up doing. So yeah, a lot of these people that are going to say, I'm going to reach level 60 in 5 days. Whatever. Good luck. I don't think it's going to happen. I mean, you could try. I mean, there's still going to be people that are going to do it. Let's face it. That's the way it's going to happen. You're going to have the people that aren't going to sleep for a week and be able to get the 60 just so they can say they've done it. But the vast majority of people, it is just going to be a slow, amazing grind. And I'm looking forward to it.
Rewarding, and that's the thing.
Hugely fast and rewarding grind.
Every level is like a reward, and every 2 levels you go to train, and it's just like, I can't wait for that, and it's something I love so much about vanilla leveling is how rewarding it feels. Yeah. Getting that blue upgrade and knowing that you're going to have this for like 20 levels, basically feeling like a piece of tear, like it's like the same feeling. those things are very special to me, and I want to have that experience, and I want to feel like there's no rush. I really don't want to have a rush, and I don't. That's one thing that I really loved about Vanilla when I played it. I always felt like I could log in today or log in a week from today, and I wouldn't be missing much. I really wouldn't miss. Oh, maybe I missed, to do my arenas for this week or in DC, or maybe my rank is going to go down a little bit, but that's the biggest thing I'm going to lose, in vanilla. My rank went down, I didn't get to PvP, whatever. But a week went by, nothing really changed. I like that feeling, And, as we're getting older, we have other stuff going on, and sometimes you don't have as much time you can give to the game.
Mm-hmm.
And it's nice to be able to come back and feel like your character is still there, and nothing really has gone on. You didn't really miss out on that much, and I like that feeling.
There was never a point during all of Classic, between 2004 to 2006, there was never a point for any player to feel like I'm being left behind, because you never were. No matter what people were doing, there were other people that were doing it at the same pace you were, and I loved that.
And in Vanilla had great catch-up mechanics like ZG and,
AQ20.
And AQ20, and even when the gear became the itemization changed, and you had ways to always catch up, and it was nice to be able to feel like you were never too far away from the person who was doing, so much more, and you could get there if you wanted to, and always feeling rewarded when you got to that next piece of gear and you got to that next tier. That amazing sense of reward that when I was raiding in Legion was not there at all. So that is definitely something I'm really looking forward to.
Yeah.
But if there's anything else that we covered, did we cover pretty much everything? I think we did. I think there was.
Yeah. I think. If you guys believe me, I could sit here and talk to you guys all day. But
we could as well. I had a really great time with you today, and I think that this is why I really love having people like yourself on. Eric, and people, it's always great to have a content creator on. It really is, but you really get a sense of the core community when we have someone like yourself on. A player that you are literally the heart and soul of Classic, like you are, and that is so important to get your input and what you think and what you believe on here, because you represent a huge, huge portion of the player base. And I think that is why it's so important to get just, what's in your head out there. So I want to thank you so much for coming on the show. So much for your support to our channel. You are literally the wheels to our channel. Like, I'm trying to think of another way to keep on coming up with wheels. I don't know why.
Let's put it this way. If you guys are listening to DefTalk on a podcast system, it's majorly the generous contributions of this man right here, who's allowing us to pay for that monthly charge. There are others, okay? There are Flozy B, there's Discipulo, there's Cargos, there is a Gaming Pass 30. So those guys that are actually donating to the channel, but I have to say Earlybird is putting the vast majority of that money towards it, and if it wasn't for all of you collectively, we wouldn't be able to do the podcast. So I hate to do a plug right now, but it's relevant. So if you want to become a patron, we have a Patreon. So it's patreon.com /def_meltv. So if you want to do that, we can help us get some more better gear or better equipment. We both want to get green screens. We both want to do some other stuff. So better audio equipment. We know we need better stuff. So it's up to you. No pressure, but just something we have.
Thank you guys, and thank you so much, Eric Earlybird, for coming out tonight.
Absolutely. It's been a pleasure.
Real quick, I just want to do some housekeeping real quick.
Do our housekeeping,
Okay, so again, Earlybird's plug is curesarcoma.org. Head over there if you want to help with a really debilitating disease, obviously. Cancer is debilitating in general, but this one is severely, can be really bad, especially when it comes back after it goes away. We have follow us on Twitter. We have a Discord as well. Links are in the description. You can listen to us on iTunes, Google Play, Stitcher, or SoundCloud. And if you want to be on DefTalk, just got to email us. That's how we got to know Eric. Just email us at melderon.gaming@gmail.com, and we will get you on DefTalk. It might take a few days or weeks, but we will get you on. So
we'll get you on. Absolutely. And again, thank you so much. I had a great time tonight. I just wanted to say one more thing, everyone. Again, thank you so much to all of you patrons or not, thank you for helping us get to over 2,000 subscribers. We are very happy, and we just want to let you guys know thank you. So until next time, guys, this is Defcamp signing out.
This is Melderon and our very special guest.
And Earlybird saying, keep on, keep binding and grinding, baby.
Yes.
All right.
Oh, yeah.
Yes.
All right.
That's awesome. See you guys.